Joana D'Arc was born around 4020 in the small village of Dorime in the Lorraine region of France. She came from the modest peasant family. Her life in the village was simple and marked by warships and hundreds of years between France and England, which was ravaging the country at the time. Joanna grew up in a rural environment where she learned the typical tasks of a peasant woman, such as caring for animals and helping with the household chores. She did not have extensive formal education, but she was raised in a deeply religious environment, which would strongly influence her life and her convictions. From a very young age, Joan reported having visions and hearing the voices of saints, such as Saint Michael, the Archangel, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. These mystical experiences began when she was about 13 years old, and from them she believed she had a divine mission to liberate France from English occupation. In 1429, Joanne managed to read Charles VII, who was initially skeptical but eventually accepted her help after tests proving her sincerity and character. She was then allowed to accompany the French army, wearing armor and leading troops. Historically, her importance stems for her leadership in the French army, being responsible for breaking the cycle of the countless consecutive victories by the English, and the victories in the battles of Orleans and Reims. And what this particular victory was that made possible the coronation of Charles VII as King of France. Despite unfortunately being considered a witch and burned at the stake when captured by the English and their companies, after her death, Charles VII asked Pope Calixtus III to annul the Joanna's trial. Years later, in the 20th century, when she was beatified and canonized, she became a saint recognized by the Catholic Church and is currently celebrated as a virgin martyr and one of the patron saints of France, even having a day of commemoration for her, May 30th. Joana d'Arc participated in a decisive battle during the Hundred Years of War. The most famous was Siege of Orleans in 1429, where she led the liberation of the city besieged by the English, raising French morally and changing the course of the war. Later, she commanded the Loire campaign, reconquering important cities such as Jorgel, Meon-sur-Loire, and Bijon. In 1430, at the Battle of Compiègne, she was captured by the Burgundians, allies of the English, and handed over for trial for heresy. Joan d'Arc's final days were marked by suffering and tragedy. After being captured in 1430 at the Battle of the Compiègne by the Burgundians, allies of the English, she was handed over to the English and subjected to a trial for heresy and witchcraft. The trial was marked by political and religious accusations, and Joan was sentenced to death. On May 30th of 1421, at only 19 years old, Joan d'Arc was burned alive in a public square in the city of Rennes, France. Her execution was a dramatic event that transformed her into a martyr and, centuries later, into a saint and national heroine of France.
Joanna became a symbol of my friend's resistance, faith, patriotism, and in modern times, the breaking of feminine stereotypes. Because the French army only won its battles thanks to ambitious girl, a 19 years old, who had numerous time training, motivation by religious predictions, and the hope of ending the war. She is currently considered one of the main female icons in history.
Try and elevation. She has burned at the stake in 130, 430, and 31. but 25 years later has declared innocent by Pope Calixtus III. She has canonized as saint in 1920. The bloodless warrior. Although she led the army with great strategic talent, Joanna never killed anyone. She carried a banner instead of a shield in combat.